All right, once again, it is that time. We are hitting the books, part of the Hammer Betting Network, alongside the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Joey Knish. I am merely Brad Powers. Zach Phillips, our producer extraordinaire, is also on hand. Before we talk and recap college football semifinals and preview the national championship, let me first remind everybody, hit the books on the Hammer Betting Network, powered by Circa Sports. Bet like pros with the world's largest sports book right at your fingertips. It's Circa Sports. Experience big app bets with the highest betting limits, better money line splits with the lowest hold percentage. It's the best customer service and more. It's sports betting on the go. It's never been better. Now you can download, fund, and bet like a pro from anywhere in Nevada. Get your new bookie today at circasports.com. Mr. Knish, I was worried whether or not you were going to show up after what happened this past weekend. And no, I'm not talking about the Detroit Lions, who actually overachieved yet again. That's all they do under Dan Campbell. There he is. Yep, that's where they're going as far as against the spread. We'll see this.
No, yeah, it was, I mean.
Played in Arizona. Not good.
No, it was, but listen, it was a tough one. When you give a team 2 pick sixes, a fumble on the goal line, and the Philly junkyard instead of the Philly special, whatever the hell we were running on there. I mean, you just if you're an Ohio State fan, I think you can go at least go out with like your head held high. We played a team that was a little better than us. We gave them everything they could handle. Michigan just handed them the game. And I all credit to whatever teacher, all the platitudes, all the cliches, whatever you want is that. You were the better team and you handed them the game. And it seemed like every time you got within a whisker, you just gave up another play, which led them that. And then, I mean, obviously, I'm in Ann Arbor, trying to keep Harbaugh around town here, trying to entice him to stay. But there were some vintage Harbaugh big game the issues that resurface when you win most of the games for 2 years. People don't complain about them, but before this, there's been some of the classic time management issues where there's 4 minutes to go, you need 2 touchdowns, you're send it in, guys. 40 seconds. I'm taking you 40 seconds. You're running like a goal line package and like getting 1 yard. Like, what the fuck are you doing? So, yeah, frustrating to say the least. But I mean, right. Yeah, I was trying to get the helmet to go in for a halftime speech, but we're having some issues here over there at the Knish Hall, and the issues being I was about to have a heart attack. So, yeah, tough one. Tough to go out that way. Yeah. You know what? This was the ultimate kick in the was like I had so much Ohio State. After you get just punched in the gut, and I got to come back an hour later and root for Ohio State. And then it's like I don't know. I don't even know if the money was worth. Like if Ohio State was going to win a national title after all this, I don't even know if it would have been worth it. So. Yeah, it was a tough one to stomach, but we're on to the natty, and at least we had a very good financial weekend. Hit the books and some of the plays. So hey, the money softens every blow.
Yeah, speaking of that, best bets. You and I had a good bowl season, 7-3 on the bowl best bets here. Penn State, exactly like what we predicted. We said, hey, we expect them to close favorite. LSU, you want to talk about closing line value? Check that out. That's why you use the bet stamp. 30% CLV. That's pretty good. Could have laid 50 in that one and still covered. I will take personal responsibility for the Southern California under. When we gave that out, there was question marks whether Caleb Williams would play. There was question marks on whether Michael Pratt would come back to Tulane. So I'll own that one. Mississippi State, another good solid one there. They close a favorite. CJ Stroud over 279 passing yards. He almost cashed in the first half.
Yeah.
Donovan Edwards was surprising. Didn't get there.
I'll tell you, you know what though? I was talking about that one with some people. I think they legitimately told McCarthy not to check it down to him because there was a half dozen plays in that game that he was wide open in the flat. And they just didn't give it to him. So, that was, I think you had the right read there. Just something about his hand that I think they had told, he was throwing the ball away instead of getting 5 yards to Edwards. So,
I mean, McCarthy did throw it down the field. I mean, sometimes to the other team, but I mean, he had some yardage there. The thing, if you're a Michigan fan, that's got to be so upsetting, Knish, is, I mean, how many opportunities do you have as a touchdown plus favorite in those situations? Forget just making the playoffs,
right?
But having a very winnable game against a TCU team that I can't believe I'm saying this. They're going to play for the national championship. I still don't think they're great. I mean, they're a good team, but I mean, I literally can go through almost every single game with the exception of maybe the Texas game, the Oklahoma game. Even with the Oklahoma quarterback hurt, they were clear the right side there. But very few exceptions this season where I can't go in there and say, hey, that final score was not reflective of truly, how good or not so good TCU is really. And you mentioned it. I just don't think it's belly aching. I mean, it's legit. I thought Michigan was better. I mean, 2 pick sixes, fumble at the goal line, stupid play call at the goal line. I mean, change one of those. And Michigan wins the game by 1 at least. And I mean, there would have been a great opportunity for Michigan to win a national championship. But you mentioned the Ohio State game. I was with you. I bet Ohio State, won some money on Ohio State against the spread. But at the point of Michigan losing, I was rooting for an Ohio State outright win. Why? I'm probably in a similar shoes as you. After the Michigan loss, you could have gotten some nice futures markets with Ohio State. 12-1, 15-1. I think I saw as much as 25-1. I wasn't available for too long, but I had a lot of exposure there that would have been quite profitable because obviously Ohio State would have been a touchdown plus favorite, if not a double-digit favorite against TCU. So heartbreak. I was back home in Ohio. I'm in the Toledo, Ohio area.
I was gonna say, it looks like a time machine here you've been in this living room you're in. No, and that one is just I mean, it was like you felt that and I want to get it I feel like that and I don't know targeting who knows what. I feel like that non-call on Marvin Harrison probably cost Ohio State a national championship.
I would agree.
Not only did they not get a touchdown on that drive, which I think that the targeting, they get the flag, they probably get a TD, it knocks out their best player who was dragging the nuts all over Georgia's secondary. And then they struggled to move the ball the rest of the game. So I don't listen, I agree. For a while, the targeting was absolutely absurd. You're kicking kids out of the game. But between that one and the Tulane kid getting knocked out cold on the field, neither of those are targeted. What is the rule even anymore? So I don't understand. You can just knock that Harrison out in the back of the end zone. There's no flag, and then he's out the rest of the game. So I don't know. It's a very confusing. It's just been absurd how they apply it, and I think that non-call was one that if I'm an Ohio State fan, I'd be ruined for years to come. So. Yeah, that was a tough. I mean, they did all they could.
They did. Certainly, even surpassed my expectations, and I bet Ohio State in the game. I mean, I thought clearly they were the better team for a majority of that. You mentioned the targeting. So let's set that scenario. That would have been 1st and goal for Ohio State. Probably at the 2-yard line, up 35-24, likely to punch it in to make it an 18-point game. It gets overturned. They got to settle for a field goal. At that point, I do not, and say Harrison doesn't get hurt. Even if they call the penalty, if Harrison doesn't get hurt, I don't think Ohio State loses the game.
Agreed.
So, Georgia needed everything in that final 15, 20 minutes to go their way in order for them to win that game. So, I talk about power rankings, downgrade Georgia, in my opinion, watching that. Specifically, Georgia's pass defense.
Yeah.
Second week in a row, completely exposed. Ohio State did whatever they wanted to do, and it's not like it was Harrison and a bunch of the wide receivers making a bunch of contested catches. Those guys were running free and open all of the first 3 quarters of that game. You look at CJ Stroud could basically do whatever he wanted. So I thought, for at least the majority of the game, Ryan Day was out, and you could tell he was feeling the pressure and acting a little unusual. He outcoached Kirby Smart for at least 3 quarters of that game.
You saw some emotion out of Ryan Day that you don't usually see here. I think even in the loss, he got a lot of heat off him just in terms of like their overall performance. I
agree.
Because he definitely if that's a game, if they lose by a couple of touchdowns. Who knows if he? Who knows if he's back next year? So he needed that type of performance,
and he got it. And that's what I expected. I expected Ohio State play with a chip on their shoulder. Had they gotten blown out, I think it would have been a very bad look for that program. But right now, they'll be all right. I'm not shedding any tears for that program. Let's start talking national championship. I'm actually curious to see if you made a bet yet. I have not bet side or total. I have some leans. I have, my gut's telling me that, Georgia is probably the right side, even though I see a little bit of TCU money coming into the marketplace. Power ratings say it should be, in 12, 13. So there's nothing there. But, after being anti-TCU the whole season, I'm probably not going to change my tune now because I could see them getting run out in this one. I guess what I prefer is probably a look more towards the over because, if Georgia's going to have a weakness, it's going to be their pass defense that has shown not only in the last, the semifinal game, but also the game before that in the SEC championship game. TCU should have some opportunities, especially with a TCU team that might be down their starting running back. So I think they'll go to the air more there. So I'm leaning more towards the over. What say you?
Yeah, Patrick Burns, we didn't mention it. The Kirby timeout was like a virtuoso, coaching moment there. That they'll be replaying that, timeout for to be able to read that and then call it. That is why the man gets paid the big bucks there as a coach. So, but no, I'm with you. I bet one shop around town here that got down to 12. I bet some 12. I'm probably gonna add some more. I'm kind of waiting to see here. If the market keeps, I'm a little surprised it early. I would suspect that eventually the big fish will come in. The biggest fish there, the trading firms there, that at the end come back on some Georgia. I know a lot of the, this is one of those games. I know we don't do any of that. Save the public stuff here at, that's a different network. But this is one of those games where the handle is so massive and you get so that you can actually get, a little bit of, half point here of all the shops are taking big bets where some of the square money can have a little push on the line. I've seen a lot of the early handles, all TCU. I do like Georgia. It's not going to be like an all-time banger play, but I got a little Georgia position now. I'll definitely be looking to add to it, especially if we keep getting a little bit more of a discount. I thought the 2 touchdowns was about right, and now that we've gotten through 13, even some flat 12 here, I don't think TCU's passing game can execute what Ohio State and LSU both did. So the last 2 times we've seen Georgia, we've seen them versus a trio of NFL wide receivers versus better quarter. Again, Max Duggan had some key plays versus Michigan, but in that game they were their offense is we want to establish the run. We want to get Duggan loose, and we want to hit a couple explosive plays to Quentin Johnson. It's not we're going to spread you out, 4 or 5 wide and be able to throw it all over you down the field. So I think that much fits a lot better into what Georgia's defense actually does well and can defend, as opposed to what they saw versus Ohio State.
You're taking, I completely agree with Ohio State, but you're taking LSU's passing offense with Garrett Nussmeier over Max Duggan and TCU's passing offense?
The receiver core at LSU I like better. Quentin Johnson's
I like Quentin Johnston.
fantastic.
Are you kidding me? Quentin Johnston's better than anything LSU had this year.
Yes, but the receiving core as a whole, I'm taking LSU, and I like LSU's passing offense just better in terms of what that. So listen,
all right,
I think Georgia can have more success in this game than they have in the recent weeks. So we'll say. I'm not saying we'll shut them down. I'm saying I think they can have more success. Give TCU's offensive line a lot more trouble than Michigan's did.
I agree,
and it just. For me, it's a little bit of a cheap discount here on Georgia, so I think that's got to be the side for me.
Yeah, what was going back to the Michigan game? That had obviously TCU going up and down the field. Besides, getting the pick sixes and whatnot. I was not impressed with that Michigan front. No pressure on Duggan. They did whatever they wanted in the throw game.
Any pressure with a 4-man rush, and that led to Jesse. We discussed it, and part of our I'm thinking is like. We're going to play 2 deep safeties the entire game. They had to come out of it because they weren't stopping the run. And then in the second half, they bring a couple of house blitzes and got burned because they couldn't get any pressure on the passer. So, Duggan's sitting back there with no one. They're running the ball. Nobody's run on Michigan all year, and TCU's pounding it. So, yeah, the Michigan front seven, outside of all the Michigan errors, I thought TCU won that game in the trenches because they were able to stop Michigan run game for the most part outside of that, first carry. And on the flip side, handled Michigan pretty well with their offensive line. So, yeah, that was a disappointing part for me if you're a Michigan fan because that was a stated advantage you thought you had coming into the game that did not play out that way.
Stephen Robinson in the comments talk first TD and anytime touchdown props. Keep in mind, we are doing at least an hour, maybe even 90 minutes prior to the national championship game. So as we get closer to game time and those a little bit more liquidity and more availability on props, we'll be talking all that because obviously there's not going to be too much movement on the side or total. And we're doing an hour show plus on this game. So we will be talking props. That will be airing on Monday. A little preview there. Patrick Burns in the chat. Alabama, Kansas State was a preview of this game. Yeah, I could see that. I definitely could see Georgia running away with this one. I don't know. Call me gutless, spineless, whatever. I've been waving this anti-TCU flag all season, and maybe I should sack up a little bit more and be more.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't.
If I had to be Georgia.
Yeah, I don't think I don't see TCU's talent. I agree with that. Kind of like the Kansas State, but you saw Alabama at full strength, full go against a Kansas State team that kind of that basically dog walked TCU for a half and got some misfortune there in the first game. Should have beat them twice. Misfortune in the first game there, and it's like another level of talent up. That TCU doesn't have, and he's going to say, and Michigan was a very good team this year. They deserve to be in the playoff. They don't have the level of player across their team that Georgia does. Georgia's been recruiting. You go back to the last 5. They've had number 1 classes, number 2, number 3, just the level of player, even after last year and all the NFL departures. It just Michigan doesn't have that type of that level of player across all of their team either way. Georgia does, and I think that's you're just not going to be able to get that kind of talent delineation. And this is it's a game even on some of the look ahead stuff, obviously low liquidity, small that, but you could have got this was 17 in some of the look ahead markets. So now and again, Sonny Dykes and Gillespie, all credit to them. They handed Michigan staff their lunch. Don't think that's going to happen versus Kirby and staff there in a national title game.
Yeah, Garrett Riley too, OC for TCU. And let me apologize to the viewers. I've had internet issues all morning long. I thought it was me, but I guess it's Vegas because a couple of my buddies also internet issues. So I apologize for that. With me in and out possibly here. I agree with what you're breaking down, at least from what I caught. I don't know if you mentioned something.
Well, even the stuff you missed was brilliant. Don't worry about it. It was all great.
Yeah,
So
I can only imagine how great it was.
Yeah.
Is there any other games or outcomes? I mean, with only one game and a lot of the other, the markets in game and prop plays still to be determined on there. Any other games or thoughts that you took from the last week since the last time you and I talked?
You know what? I won that. I think, in Bolsey, we talked, Mississippi State there. I feel like that is the one game where, we got on the right side of the move. I think that Illinois, the players who didn't play, had like it's one of those, like, you bet the line early, you get the good line, the opt-outs there. Like, I think if Illinois play, like Witherspoon and Chase Brown play, I think they win the game. Like,
I agree.
I think those opt-outs had a direct effect on the exact outcome of that one. Where if they got a couple more of their players, their tight end that didn't play, the two Brown brothers and Witherspoon, that's one that. And I mean, if you took some Illinois, I know a couple of guys I bet with middled some Illinois at post at 3.5. That was you took some Illinois on game day. That was about as rough as it gets there. But it was one. It was like the classic, the reason that I don't like to bet those air raid teams in bowl games, because for half of the game was just such a slog of, like, they just dropped back, they couldn't get in rhythm. It was kind of the classic read of why they're. And if Illinois had their guys, I think they win that one. So yeah, that was one I enjoyed that game. And Penn State, I think that was I can't believe that was just market reaction there. I can't believe Utah stayed favorite in that game for so long. Like,
until game day. I can't believe that. It closed right about where I thought it should have been the entire bowl season. So I don't know what took that so long. I mean, kudos to the guys that had those super big limits, that like yourself, that took advantage of that. I could still get a plus sign within 24 hours of kickoff on that one, but. Penn State clear the right side. Hey, when you got opt-outs, Penn State clearly the deeper roster in that one and leaned on that. And, unfortunately, Utah's quarterback went out. Even if he didn't go out, I still think Penn State was the right side in that game. You mentioned Mississippi State. Yeah, I clearly that was one where I bet Illinois early in the bowl season, and hindsight's 2020. I agree with you. Had those guys played, I think Illinois was going to be the right side in that game.
Yeah.
With those guys out, you were right saying, hey, Mississippi, a lot more Illinois guys are going to opt out than expected.
Yeah, no, I'm with you that like it was just such a fine, like a thin margin of that one that, like, those guys made all the difference, where it was just you could feel it, like Illinois, if they had just got one drive earlier in the game, and if you have a Chase Brown or that doing that, and they changed their mentality a little bit too on offense. They let DeVito throw it around a little bit more, and it worked for a very short period of time. But in kind of the middle eight, of that game, they just couldn't do anything on offense, and it eventually the dam broke, and then Mississippi State was finally able to get it going there a little bit later. You want to do what? And not the only national title game we're going to talk about today.
Let's do it. Yeah,
let's do the other one.
Yeah, so we got a really good matchup. I mean, this would be like the equivalent of Michigan, Ohio State playing for the national championship as far as a rivalry in a title game. It's a Dakota marker game. It's South Dakota State against North Dakota State. Already faced this season earlier. South Dakota State went into the Fargo Dome, beat North Dakota State. Actually, the third time in recent memory that South Dakota State's gotten a win over North Dakota State. They're the only team that really, when you look at the line of scrimmage, matches up from a physical standpoint against North Dakota State. Money on South Dakota State in this game. Very interesting, because you look at and compare it in Line Shop, that earlier matchup had North Dakota State at home, obviously, but favored by 4.5, saying North Dakota State was the superior team on a neutral field. I'm not a big fan of the South Dakota State coach. I know he's going for his first national championship, but Man, I'm going North Dakota State here. That's my lean. It's not a big bet for me. I haven't even made the bet yet. I was waiting to see how high the line can go, but I am leaning on the other side. You're going to
Yeah, I'm a little head to head, and I agree with you. Now that it's gotten to 4.5, 5, it's a little. I just think this South Dakota State. It's a North Dakota State team that has had a lot of fortune here to kind of. They got the right draw. They got the right time with injury. I think it's a game they should have lost for Incarnate Word. I don't think they were the better team in that game, and also. They've had a couple of key injuries there. They're down a couple of running backs, a wide receiver, key player on defense. It's just, the biggest issue for me is like Cam Miller. I don't think he can execute in the passing game, and South Dakota State's got the best rush defense in the country. Whereas Gronkowski and the Yankee boys, I think, can do a little bit of damage here. Through the air in the passing game. Whereas Cam Miller, it's just, in a number of spots where he's needed to be the guy, he really hasn't been able to do it. And they've got fortunate, and you saw even in the earlier game. So I agree with you that normally, when I see this line, I just think it's a North Dakota State team who's been their level of play just seems to be trending down with the injuries in that. I think South Dakota State, I think they're the better team here, and I think they're kind of the significantly better team. And so I think this is, even 4.5, 5, probably about right. But I'd still lean South Dakota State a bit. I just think they've got the only team I can trust here with the passing game. They got better talent, and they're the healthier team in this one.
Check the injury report. Last I read that there might be a couple of those guys coming back for North Dakota State. So I will be eyeing that a little bit. At least the guy that follows, I got a buddy that follows it a lot more than even I do on the North Dakota State side. So I haven't bet it yet. So that I'm a little surprised, a little bit of money South Dakota State. It'll be interesting to see what shows on game day, because going back to that first meeting, a lot of North Dakota State money came in on that day and ended up being wrong. South Dakota State won the game outright. Anything on the total in that game, Knish? I think it's about right. I made it 47.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I think part of me, just leans under with these two. They kind of run into a brick wall each other with a lot of them. But the first matchup earlier this year was higher scoring. Gun to my head, I'd play under, but I think the total's about right. I agree with that. That is the one concern. Like on the South Dakota State side, their coach, he does. Haven't felt like he's been someone who's really maximized, or he's got a very docile personality too. Like he kind of reminds me of an elementary school teacher, not like a football coach. Like I don't know. He's just a guy that. Obviously, he's done well, recruiting and building that program, but not a guy in like the biggest games who I'm always a big fan of backing there. But I tell you what, if he doesn't win this one, he doesn't deserve one, because this is the year, this is the team that they had. I mean, they've had the best team in the FCS, no doubt, and they're catching a North Dakota State team that is obviously not going to be 100%, and is one of the lower rated teams they've had in a long time. So. If he's going to get one, he better get this one.
Hey, yeah, I would say so. Probably should have had it 2 years ago in the spring. The quarterback got hurt on the first series. That hurt him quite a bit. They were better than Sam Houston State. Still won the game. Sam Houston State scoring late. All right. Anything else you want to address? Any games that you want to mention? I will say this. Generally speaking, I want to get this out of the way, because there's a lot of negativity about the bowl games. Because of the opt-outs. They don't mean anything. I think you and I love it because you can price uncertainty and line movement and whatnot. I mean, you can get some great bowl bets. Look no further than our LSU best bet that moved over a touchdown. I will say this. The play that we saw, at least from the players that did decide to play in a bowl game, I thought they gave an amazing effort. I mean, more than half of the games, the bowl games, out of the 40 of them, were decided by one possession or less, at 7 points or less. So, I thought the coaching, considering they got to deal with an early signing day, NIL, transfer portal, all that, I thought the coaching was pretty good considering the time crunch there. So, I mean, it's been as exciting as far as a play aspect as a bowl season as I can remember my entire life. What say you?
No, I agree. You know what? I think maybe started off a little slow, but some of these games, especially, over the weekend and relatively, I agree with had, even, I mean, like that, I even like that, the Pitt UCLA game, little pregame, Donnybrook there in the game, little chirping. I think that gave that one a good flavor there. And I agree with, the level of competition, well, I agree with you, more enjoyable than I expected. I think I don't know what the future, with they've got to do maybe something where you're having, I don't know. I know the whole thing is like you take a trip or, there is something with like, sometimes the empty stadium and the sponsors having trouble. I think economically, logistically, they've got to make some improvements, but just in terms of the games we saw and the level of play, and hey, we had a nice bowl. See, I think some of this uncertainty, as you're saying, plays into as long as you can bet on these games, baby, keep them coming. So I think to have and again we'll get the expanded playoff now coming up there, but as you said, some of these bowl games kind of give you a little bit more opportunity where you've had a lot of the ratings and stuff are pretty solidified by the end of the year. Well, you start getting 10, 20 guys on either side and out, then you can get some pretty nice bets in there. So yeah, I'm all I don't know what bowls. I don't know exactly what it'll look like for the long haul going forward, but hey, I definitely enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I will say this: I actually, I'm always a guy looking forward. I like a lot of opt-outs because it's almost an early look towards what the team is going to look like for next season. So I don't have to rely on a spring game to get an early look and see what these guys look like in a college uniform. So I'm all for at least the current bowl situation, but we'll see. I mean, I don't know what the future is with an expanded playoff. Obviously we're going to have less bowls, so I wish we had 80, Knish, to be honest with you. So
hey, listen, if you're gonna keep why not keep it rolling? Give everybody one more game at the end of the season. So yeah, I'm with you. I mean, listen, if you can, have some home and home bowl games or whatever you want to do. Just there's nothing wrong with more options to bet on. A little, especially when this time of year it's down a bit. I know me and you aren't as you'll be like give me all the bowls you can, baby.
Yeah. So just recapping. You're liking South Dakota State. Sounds like you got a much stronger position than my North Dakota State there. We're both leaning Georgia. I don't think we're at best bet material because, I'm anxious to see how low this line goes. And, it might be a case even with a double-digit point spread where you get a decent money line price, because what are people going to do on game day? They're going to want to bet a little to win a lot. What's the easiest way to do that? Oh, I'll take TCU to win the game. I get 4-1. Okay. Yeah, they just beat Michigan. I love this TCU team, the Hypnotoads. So I think if we get a cheap money line, that might end up being my best bet. But I don't have one right now. I'm leaning towards Georgia side. I'm leaning towards the over side. Keep in mind, we will have that show coming up on Monday where we're going to go at length, deep dive into the title game. We'll talk props. I know we'll have some best bets there.
Yeah.
Any other closing thoughts here?
No, I agree with you. Yeah, we'll get into. I know. Obviously, I wish we had a little bit more of the menu to get in early, but it doesn't look like much stuff is out there for the national title game yet. So again, we'll get all into that Monday. We'll have the player props, some first TD stuff, whatever else. Hopefully, there's some more even weird. Maybe I'll text Metcalf or something, have him put out some extra. Give me some weird shit. I don't even know what I want. But I want something, some more unique stuff here to get up here. So we'll be able to fill up Monday with a bunch of the derivative stuff.
Push-up props?
Hey, right. How many can you do during halftime, baby?
There you go. I don't know. Have you been training already? It's 2023, New Year.
Listen, Joe, maybe I'll get my redemption here, as soon as 2023, the year of Joey Fitness.
How about the next show? I have better internet connection. We'll start there. So before we sign off, keep in mind, for Joey Knish, Zach Phillips, I'm Brad Powers. You've been watching Hit the Books on the Hammer Betting Network, powered by Circa Sports. Bet like the pros with the largest sports book right at your fingertips. It's Circa Sports. Experience big at bets, highest betting limits, better money line splits with the lowest hold percentage, best customer service, and more. Get your new bookie today at circasports.com. We'll talk to you guys Monday at Hit the Books on the Hammer Betting Network.